Yo guys, today we're talking about something a bit different. Why everyone seems to love laughing at Tasmania. Like seriously. Out of all the places in Australia, this is the one people always joke about. And it's kind of weird. Because at one point, Tasmania actually wasn't a joke at all. So today we're going to go through why people laugh at it. But also what actually happened to get it there. Alright, so first off, Tasmania is basically Australia's island state. A lot of people compare it to New Zealand. Just smaller and a bit more forgotten. And straight away that already sets the tone. Because it feels separate. Kind of isolated. And when a place feels isolated, people naturally start making jokes about it. But it's not just that. There's this stereotype that nothing really happens there. Like it's quiet. Not much industry. Not many big cities. And people turn that into jokes. But that's only part of the story. Because if you go back in time, Tasmania was actually ahead of everyone else in some ways. Especially with energy. They had massive hydroelectric power projects. Basically using water to generate electricity. And they were doing this way earlier than most places. Like we're talking early 1900s. They were building dams, powering industries, and connecting homes to electricity. At a time when a lot of other places didn't even have power yet. So for a while, Tasmania was actually kind of impressive. They had cheap electricity, which meant factories and industries wanted to move there. Things like paper mills, cement works, and even food production. All powered by hydro. And that made the economy pretty strong. For its size. So it wasn't always this place people laughed at. It actually had momentum. But then things started to change. And this is where it gets interesting. Because a lot of it comes down to decisions. And conflicts. Especially around the environment. So as time went on, there were plans to build even more dams. Bigger ones, to produce more power. And keep growing the economy. But then people started pushing back. Especially environmental groups. They were worried about the impact on nature. Because Tasmania has a lot of unique landscapes. Forests, rivers, wildlife, stuff you don't really get anywhere else. And one of the biggest conflicts was over a proposed dam. This became a huge national issue. People protesting, marches, arguments. It basically split opinions completely. On one side, you had people who wanted jobs, industry, growth, and on the other side, you had people who wanted to protect the environment and stop development. And this conflict didn't just go away. It actually changed everything. Because the dam ended up not being built. And that had consequences. Some people lost jobs. And the idea of building more large-scale projects slowed down a lot. So now you have a situation where the state can't expand in the same way it used to. And at the same time, the global economy is changing. Manufacturing starts declining. Jobs shift, and Tasmania doesn't fully adapt. So instead of big industries growing, you start seeing smaller sectors. It's like logging, farming, tourism, but those don't always provide the same stability. And this is where the jokes start to grow. Because now people look at Tasmania and see less opportunity, less growth, and more struggles. And then politics adds another layer to it. Because Tasmania has had a lot of unstable governments. Minority governments. Coalitions. Constant disagreements. And when that happens, big decisions become harder to make. Projects get delayed. Plans don't go anywhere. And people get frustrated. So from the outside, it looks like nothing is getting done. And that feeds into the stereotype. Then you add in the cultural side. Memes, jokes about isolation, jokes about people there. And it just keeps building. The internet especially makes this worse. Because once a place becomes a meme, it spreads everywhere. And suddenly everyone is in on the joke, even if they don't actually know anything about the place. And another thing is, Tasmania still has incredible nature, like forests, rivers, wild areas. And because of that, it's harder to develop compared to big cities. So it stays more quiet, more rural. And again, people turn that into jokes. But the reality is, that's also one of its strengths. It just doesn't fit the typical idea of a fast-growing modern city. So people misunderstand it and just laugh instead. And there's also this weird cycle where problems lead to jokes, and jokes make people take the place less seriously, which then makes it harder to change the image. So it just keeps going. And at this point, it's kind of part of its identity. Like people expect to joke about Tasmania. It's just become normal. But if you actually look deeper, it's not that simple. There's history there. There were periods of real success. And a lot of the issues came from complex decisions. Not just because it's a bad place. And even now, it still has advantages. Cheap energy in some areas, unique environment, tourism potential. But it also has challenges: jobs, economic growth, political stability. And that mix is what creates the reputation. So yeah, people laugh at Tasmania. But there are actual reasons behind it. It's not just random. It's history, decisions, geography, and perception all combined. And honestly, if things had gone slightly differently, it might have had a completely different image today. But instead, it became the place everyone jokes about, even if most people don't fully understand why. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Also, just quickly, this channel will be going on hiatus until further notice.